Hey guys, thanks for going on this nerd journey with me. If you want your episodes ad-free, go to makemeanerd.com/join and hit that button.
Hooked on you, baby, you're golden. Time moves, I never noticed. Just can't get enough. Got me wonderstruck.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Make Me a Nerd. I'm Mandy Kaplan, a mainstream mom whose mission it is to explore the world of nerd culture that I've been missing out on and afraid of my whole life. If you're new to the podcast, basically, I'm not all that deep. I invite people on to share their deep, nerdy love for something, whether it be sci-fi, fantasy, music, musicians, whatever it is. I want them to deep dive and share their nerdy love with me and see if I can get nerdy too. I ask all the time people to leave reviews for me as I do the show because it helps people find my show. And one of those promises I make when I say that is I'll give you a shout out on the podcast. So Guy Fandango, you're up. Guy Fandango gave me 5 stars. That's part of the deal. And he said, or she said, this podcast comes straight out of one of the few bright spots online. It is so refreshing to listen to 2 people or 3 people talk about something they genuinely enjoy. Sure, there are some critiques, but always out of appreciation and understanding. I came to this podcast to learn and was truly rewarded with useful knowledge. Thank you, Guy Fandango, for the review. Look at that.
We genuinely enjoy you, Guy Fandango.
Oh, you don't speak until you're spoken to, Kyle.
I knew that rule.
Demerit.
I already knew it.
Starting with a demerit.
Yeah.
God damn it. Okay, my guess.
I was talking to the most important person, which is Guy Fandango. But now that we've concluded
Fair
that,
enough.
we can continue on.
Oh, well, they blew it, but they need no introduction because these guys are, I could introduce them, but they are up to so many different creative endeavors. I thought I would let them do it themselves at some point in the podcast. They are members of the True Story family. Hell, I'll say it. They're members of my family. They've been on my podcast many, many times. I've been on theirs. I adore these guys. It's Tommy Metz and no, I'm kidding. It's not. I could say all of that about him. It's Kyle Olson and Pete Wright.
They need no introduction because hopefully they won't stay. That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So glad to be
Guys,
here, Mandy.
You'll notice I'm dressed
for having us
up
back.
for the
You
podcast.
did the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, and look at that. We're in royal purple.
Royal purple.
Love it.
Have you seen my screen name?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Have you seen mine? And do you know what it means?
Yours I don't understand. Yours is Gemini. I did Dear Mr. Mandy,
Yes.
which required a Google search for a title with man in the title.
It's good. It's good. You're trying.
I'm all about the
Yeah.
puns. We're here today to discuss Prince. Nay, Roger Nelson. Is that right?
Prince Rogers Nelson.
Prince
Rogers.
Nelson.
His first name was
His
Rogers?
first name was Prince.
No, his first name wasn't
Oh.
Prince.
That's his
Oh,
full
I
name.
thought that was a stage
Nope.
name.
Mhm.
Okay.
No,
You've learned something
Guys.
already.
look at that.
Boo.
Off to a great start.
I
Look at that.
know.
At 3 minutes, we already
Unbelievable.
learned new stuff. This is incredible.
So this was suggested by Pete many moons ago because he just loved Prince, but he does not love Prince alone. He loves Prince with Kyle Olson.
So weird. Could you have put it in a
That is
weirder
true.
way?
I am.
There is no
Well, I am
homophobia on my
definitely
show.
no.
I'm definitely the Padawan to
Oh, I
Pete's
don't know about
Jedi
that.
Master when it comes to Prince.
Oh,
stuff.
really?
Yeah, like when we first started talking, when we first met and found out we had this mutual adoration for the man from Minnesota. He said, "Well, I need to give you these," and he sent me a ton of bootlegs of recordings that I had never heard
Mm.
before. So like he had already gotten to that level of it too, beyond just like album cuts to like people had recorded in clubs and
Yeah.
things, and Pete had a bunch.
Is
of
that not mildly illegal to share bootlegs?
those.
Are you asking seriously?
I'm a big. It's
They're
been
coming
going
for
on
you,
since
Pete.
the Grateful
Yeah.
Dead. So I'm not a big believer in you had to be there. Like I think all these things should be
Oh
recorded
yeah,
and preserved.
and Prince
Okay.
has a massive catalog of exactly those. In fact, some of the bootlegs are straight out of the
Yeah.
studio. The Black album, which I'm sure we'll get to, was released as a bootleg years and years and years and years before it was ever released as an official pressing. So, there's a rich ecosystem of bootlegs for Prince stuff.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
remember the beginnings of your journey with Prince? Like, I know mine, but do you remember?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Let's start with yours.
Mine was dancing around to Purple Rain in my room when I was very little
Yeah.
and thinking Darling Nikki was the sexiest song I had ever heard. It gave me very special feelings that I still don't understand to this day.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
That is a part and parcel of the
Yeah.
Prince experience.
yes. And what about you guys? How did it all begin?
Yeah, like most of we're of an age, so we were at the time when Prince was around. Now, I know it's even for probably some of your listeners, he was gone before they were even around. But for the Purple Rain was just ubiquitous. Like you turn on the radio, you're gonna hear When Doves Cry. Like it was heavy rotation for years. And so for the most part, when those songs are coming out and Let's Go Crazy, like they're those Little Red Corvette, like those Raspberry Beret, I'm thinking like these are the ones that like if you put in like the top 5, these are the ones that you're going to hear all the time. And it was like, yeah, well, those are really good. And it was, but I was like, boy, I got tired of hearing it. Like I got tired of hearing these same ones over and over again. Like every time I went to hear the opening of When Doves Cry, I'd be like, oh man, like gonna switch off. But it wasn't until it was the later stuff, sort of for me, like when we got to Sign of the Times, like this middle period where all of a sudden there was all this really interesting stuff coming out that was beyond just like pop hits. It was like, oh no, there's way more going on than I thought. And obviously Batman was a big thing. I listened to the Batman soundtrack, I don't know how many times, the music that he did for that. But then, yeah, for me, that was Sign of the Times was the one where I was like, this is a musician like I've never heard before.
It goes from being fun pop music to, oh, wait, he's a genius. He's not just a guy who wrote bangers that I like on the radio.
Right. Exactly.
He also, what we gave you was a playlist of some of our favorites that come from the era that was, sort of the most important. My era would be the, kind of the mid 80s. So 1999 comes out in 82. And that was that was a double album that I just burned up. I just loved it. And it went 4 times platinum. Like it was extraordinary. And the revolution, the Prince and the Revolution starts to take shape. And you have Lisa Coleman and Wendy Melvoin and Des Dickerson is out. And so the band starts to take shape, creating the sound that I first attached myself to, like 1999, Little Red Corvette, Delirious, like those tracks were my foundation. So, I was already kind of ready. I was I guess a younger Prince fan when Purple Rain came out, and that was huge. But Prince, but even by then, and we're going to go back in time, but by then, Prince is already running this like empire of side acts, right? The Time and Vanity 6 and like these things are.
I'm a sex
There you
shooter.
go. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wendy and Lisa. Exactly. So these are
mean,
the things that kind of were defining the era.
That is something that interests me. I liked Prince a lot. I liked Purple Rain a lot. I was on board. I did not become a devotee the way you guys did. And Jer, my husband, did. He actually wrote to Prince and begged to be part of the revolution and tour with them. And it was this subculture that he's going to love that I just said that on a podcast. But it was a whole subculture. It was like I could go be one of them at Paisley Park and jam all day and play. It wasn't just an artist, a guy who wrote great songs. It was a whole movement.
Yeah.
And to some very, very meaningful religion. I don't want to overstate, but it was just so much more than a guy with
and
great
there was no internet, right? There was nobody to go talk to in forums. So for us, as soon as I got my license, we drove, a buddy of mine drove up to Denver every Saturday to Wax Trax to pick up whatever the latest albums were that came out, the bootlegs that came out and were released for Prince. And that's where I ended up with a vinyl, a purple vinyl that was actually not even music. It was just an interview with Prince that had been cut on an album that was cut in the shape of Prince's silhouette. And it was awesome. Like, it was just Prince talking, and it was my favorite thing. It was a treasure. So that was it. The conversations that I had about Prince and about my fandom for Prince happened in the car on the way to and from Denver. It happened with other fans who were showing up at the record store to buy the latest Prince stuff. Like, that's where the conversations happened. That's where the fandom kind of grew. And then, of course, I've seen Prince live more than any other artist. And so it was, I'd never, there are much bigger fans than I who followed him. But I did have the privilege of seeing him a bunch of times. So.
It's quite incredible. And the list you guys sent me, it was not short. I mean, you guys did not.
And that's just a sliver. And we're gonna, Pete, because this is the same Pete that you often talk to on your show. This is the same guy. Yeah. He's going to put the link to the playlist that we created in the show notes, so you guys can listen to the thing we put together. Actually, we put it together when we were on another friend of the show's show, Chrissy Lenz. We were on just talking about Purple Rain, and she didn't really know much about Prince. So we put that together to give her an idea of like a sampler of sort of our favorite, and then some deep cuts of Prince stuff too. And then when you asked us to be on here, we like, hey, we can go to that. We sort of revisited it and did some updates and sent it off to you so you can get an idea of like what the ones that we think are important and that we love.
And there are so many I had never heard.
Yeah.
And, my fandom did stop after Raspberry Beret or the Graffiti Bridge, like the stuff that was popular. And then I didn't continue on with him all that much. So one of them I want to talk about, was at the top of your list. My Name is Prince. This was a brand new song to me. I had a lot of thoughts about this song.
Okay.
First of all, he is sampling his own stuff and putting it in there. And I thought it was going to be like a Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat mega mix. And I got pretty excited. But it wasn't.
I have some of those too if you want to have them. I got a couple really
mega mixes, Prince mega mixes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would love those. But it was so frenetic, this song. It sounded like several songs fighting each other in one song. What part of his career was this from?
92, right? The reason this is important, right? Because it's rich with lyrical irony. He says, my name is Prince and I am funky. My name is Prince, the one and only. And he says this on the very last album he releases under that name before changing it to the symbol 7 months later. Right? Like, this is essentially Prince insisting on his identity before he completely abandons it because of issues with Warner Brothers. So I think it's I know this was actually more Kyle's era than mine. I think you're a big fan of the NPG. Yeah.
I am.
So was that MC Scat Cat on that track, or is that just me? It was.
I'm holding back doing all of MC Scat Cat's verse from him and Paul Abdul.
Yeah,
I know that entire thing. That's the exact era. That is exactly that time period. So yeah, you're right with it.
It didn't feel. God, how do I say this without sounding like my Nana? Like it was cacophonous to me. It was so much happening that I couldn't grab into a hook or a melody or a lyric that made me feel like, oh, this is a song I can get on board with.
And I think part of that was intentional, because if you go back to sort of like, Stiff Will Stand All Time, or even like Darling Nikki, that kind of stuff, the soft Prince or whatever too, this is him coming out really strong to say, I can also do this. just showing us another side of it. Like in the era, this is sort of in the era of like NWA and gangster rap, and that's the rise of that sort of thing. This is Prince coming out saying like, look, I can be strong too, but that's not what I do.
Yeah.
But this is very much in your face. But if you sort of the way it progresses and it's intense. But then in the lyrics, it's sort of like, my name is Prince. I don't want to be king because I've seen the top and it's just a dream. Big cars and women in fancy clothes will save your face, but it won't save your soul. So like he's coming out strong, but also saying like, look, none of this stuff matters.
If you need me to tell you this story in like hardcore rap metal fusion, I will.
So is it a bit of, I don't know if you're familiar with Ben Folds 5, Rock in the Suburbs?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Is there a bit of like, he's making fun of them by doing what they do better than they do it, or by?
Well, I would push back on making fun of. I don't think Prince was never one to lampoon through musical style. He definitely he not other music or musicians. He lampoons culture all the time, but I think he's much more respectful, or was much more respectful than that for the craft. And I think he really was just, this is another flex. This is, Kyle said it, this is a demonstration of capability. This is a guy who recorded his first couple of albums by himself, playing all the instruments. He is a prodigy. And this was him saying, I'm an adult and I can do whatever you throw at me. If this is how you want me to be heard, I can do it, and I'll do it with the very best of them.
That's how I should start my podcast.
With a flex.
With that statement. I'm an adult and I'll do whatever I want and I'll do it better. With a flex.
Honestly, that could be like emblazoned on the walls of Paisley Park, because that is sort of the journey that he went on. I mean, what we're learning now is sort of what the media covered. What we learned in the 90s was vastly skewed than the reality of it too. You know, I remember, like, I just watched the Lilith Fair documentary, and they had this whole thing about Paula Cole won the Grammy for Best New Artist, but the next day all everybody was talking about was the fact she didn't shave her armpits.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the news story. It wasn't about this amazing artist and all that, and that she was a new voice on the scene. It was that. And the same thing with, like, Sinead O'Connor tearing up the thing of the Pope. Oh my gosh, how dare you say anything bad about the Pope? Well, the point she was making was that the Catholic Church was covering up a lot of really heinous crimes. But everyone talked about was tearing the picture. And the same way with Prince, with the whole, when he changed his name, he stopped being Prince of too. That was in opposition to Warner Brothers Music exploiting him and like holding him to the ridiculously awful contracts and stuff too. And this was his way of calling attention. But people just made fun of it, like, oh, now he's a symbol and stuff too. And it's like, this is a predatory company who is exploiting a musician. He is fighting back, and you're siding with the corporation. What are you doing?
This is getting into a darker lane, and I want to go there after this.
I was dreaming when I wrote this. Forgive me if it goes astray.
Is there something problematic about Prince's legacy, that, like, there was a documentary that we never saw, and is it okay to ask about that, or would you rather not discuss those things because we're celebrating his musicianship and his artistry?
Oh, I think there's a lot of problematic stuff in Prince's legacy, and he was a troubled, complicated artist who had definitely had issues with people, with substances, all of that, and I'm burned many bridges for sure. He's definitely one of those people that we have to say, again, you got to separate a little bit the art from the artist. He's a complicated organism.
To my understanding, I'm surprised you had an album of him doing an interview. He seemed a bit like a recluse. There are all these, I have memories of him on talk shows, and it was so awkward for the host to try to drag funny anecdotes out of Prince. Is that an accurate memory or no?
Yeah, I don't think he liked that format. Like, honestly, I think it came down to when the sort of the more successful he got, the more he stopped doing what he didn't want to do. And what he didn't want to do is sit with Arsenio for an hour. Like, he just would rather be in the studio working on another song. Like, he got to the point where it's like, I don't want to talk to Jay Leno. Like, I would rather write more songs for the time.
Who would want to talk with Jay Leno?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, when you look at who he would be talking to, do you really blame him for not wanting to go on? Like,
no, I just thought
one
it
of the
was,
shows?
I thought of him as shy. I thought of him as,
Yeah,
not
I think that's
wanting
fair.
to open up and share the stories behind the music or.
And it's like he built up that part of it. And I think he was, private in a lot of things. There's a lot of things we don't really know. But and then he goes and does an
Yeah.
episode of Muppets Tonight.
Right.
He
Yeah.
did?
Just like, yeah, he was and not just performing, he was like doing comedy with the
And it was
Muppets on Muppet
great.
Tonight. And he
It
was
was so
really good. So in the midst of this period of like, oh, what this artist, and he's changed his name and all this stuff too. Then he's like making jokes with Kermit.
And
it's like, man, just when you think you got him pegged, he goes a different direction.
And there were interviews he did that I think collectively everybody agrees it make him look good, that he was clearly having a good time. Go watch his Larry King interview. It's kind of the stuff of legend about his career. And in fact, it's so much the stuff of legend that they have it on a loop at Paisley Park playing on a TV in Prince's office. And it's just constantly looping. And it just shows this side of Prince that when Prince wanted to say something, he knew how to do it. He didn't like doing it in service of what he was creating, like promotionally. He liked talking about things that really mattered to him. That's my understanding anyway.
All right. I appreciate all this insight because I didn't go that deep. What a shock.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing throughout his life, then he just became more prolific. Like it's a lot of the artists, they sort of have this period where everything is flowing and everything's coming out, and then it all kind of tapers off, and they sort of end up. If you get a hit album that everybody loves, like already lightning has struck, and and that's fantastic. But the idea that he then had that and again, and then had it again, and then had it again, and then every time it was just something more and something different. He just kept on trying different things. And sure, like the mainstream sort of moved away, but that didn't slow him down. He just kept making songs, kept writing songs for other people that he didn't even take credit for. I mean, the fact that Sinead O'Connor's biggest song is a Prince song. Like, and he just gave it to her. Like, went, oh, I think this actually would be better if you did it. And then just moved on. And then she, becomes a platinum selling artist because on the strength of that song.
So you guys on your list had I Feel For You. And I thought, oh, I don't know this one. And then it started and I was like, yes, I do. Chaka Khan. So
that's right.
But so he had already put that out on that 79 album, right?
Yeah.
And that was a hit for him, or
I mean, he was.
Or
the thing was more of a deep album.
Yeah, it was Chaka Khan. Even though he started working with Chaka Khan, and that partnership ended up being something really special. I think, I Feel For You was the when he realized, oh my God, I have so many songs, I can afford to dole them out to others and have them have their way with them, and it's great. And he was also not shy about necessarily covering, for his own personal use. Like we put A Case of You on there because Prince was a massive, massive Joni Mitchell fan. I mean, massive.
I put a heart next to it, but I didn't know it was a Joni Mitchell song.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to back up, Pete. I really admire that you can say Chaka Khan and not say Chaka Khan, everybody Chaka Khan. Like you just said it and you let it go.
Sometimes you got to let it out. And I've been saying it all day so that I could just speak normally today. Yeah.
I really appreciate the effort on my behalf. What other songs would it surprise someone like me to know he wrote? I knew about Nothing Compares to You.
Oh,
what other hits?
Manic Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bengals.
I remember back to my performing days for a school talent show. I did Strut, Pow, Put It Out by Sheena Easton that he wrote, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
The Glamorous Life, Sheila E. Like, I mean,
but I was,
Sheena
guys, I just want
Easton.
to say I was dancing way too slutty for like a fourth grader. It was not appropriate. I don't think I made anyone proud. Okay. But I loved that song and I put it out.
Yeah.
Strut, Pow.
You gotta. So Stevie Nicks. He did a track for Stevie Nicks, Stand Back. That was big.
And a little sympathy. Mm-hmm.
What else? He did a bunch for the Time, but the Time was essentially
Sure.
a Prince,
Yeah, a bunch of the time.
a Prince band.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, we talked about The Glamorous Life, I Feel For You, Sheena Easton, A Love Bazaar, Sheila E., Tevin Campbell. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
Round and Round comes from Graffiti Bridge.
Art of Noise, featuring Tom Jones. That was,
Yep.
they covered Kiss.
That's right.
Patti LaBelle, Sinead O'Connor, obviously, Man Talker. That was probably the biggest one, just because that song, her cover of that song, kind of defined an era, especially her performance of it on SNL.
Yeah, according to this website, there are approximately 322 songs Prince wrote or co-wrote for other artists.
Oh,
So,
Alicia Keys, How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore? She actually did that one. He released that one as well, but she covered it. That's a great song. It is different, though, having an artist cover a Prince song that was released versus having a song that he wrote and gave to them and never performed or released after they did it. So
it is extraordinary because you're saying things that cover so many different genres. You know, it's not just what we think of, him and a guitar.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to put, like, on that playlist, you'll see songs on there that that just don't sound like Prince songs, especially when you get into the stuff that he did, you know, for the movies, for the soundtracks. Like Venus de Milo is an instrumental piano tune that you would not be able to peg as Prince. But I wanted you to hear that because of the straight up virtuosity of this guy as a pianist, as someone who is.
Did he score the films?
Yeah.
Or,
I mean,
you know that?
So I don't know if anybody worked with him on an additional score for Under the Cherry Moon. He did obviously all the songs, and some of the songs were used as score material. I'm pretty sure all of the. It's been a long time since I've watched the movie, but I'm pretty sure all of the other score music was actually Prince music retracked.
We're going to take a break for a commercial. And then when I come back, I want to get into highlights, favorites, albums, songs, everything that you want to nerd out about right after this.
But when I woke up this morning, could have sworn it was Judgment Day.
So if I say pick your favorite album, is that too tough? Is it? Yeah. Can you do top threes? Can you do why you love certain albums? Relationships with the music? Is it where you were in your life, or is it just musically this one is better than the rest?
Part of it. Yeah.
I gotta start because, you know, I wanted to. So many of the songs that especially that were on the playlist are they're out of order, but when you bundle them in kind of eras. That first era that I came to after the 80s, right? This is the late 70s. These albums, For You and Prince and Dirty Mind and Controversy, those were my introduction to people singing about sex, right? Dirty Mind, songs about incest, sister, threesomes, When You Were Mine, oral sex, head, even the album cover of Prince in a trench coat and like a thong. So nobody was playing this music on the radio, right? This was all like, here, we're just going to put this on albums and you'll figure it out. But critics loved it, right? That Dirty Mind put him on the cover of Rolling Stone. So he blew up pretty fast. Like when you think about that cultural kind of rocket ship, it happened within just a couple of years of him starting to produce these albums in his house. Prince ended up opening for the Rolling Stones in 1981 at the Coliseum, and the audience booed and threw like garbage at him and chicken bones, and Mick Jagger reportedly personally called him and convinced him to come back for the second show. Same thing happened again, and apparently that was the moment he decided, I'm never opening for anybody else ever again.
Wow.
And so that's the defining era of Prince, the motivating era of Prince. And you could say that LA Coliseum show or that pair of shows defined his relationship with the audience forever.
It's a strange pairing. I understand aesthetically Mick Jagger was also doing a sexy, not androgynous thing, but you know, you're there to see this rock and roll British invasion
Yeah.
group, and out comes Prince. And I'm not saying it
Mhm.
justifies throwing anything or booing him, but
Mhm.
I understand the confusion.
There have
shocking
been
pairing.
fascinating pairings all through history. Like Jimi Hendrix opened for the Monkees.
Yeah. Right.
I love that.
Right. Crazy.
It's these strange eras that cross over that you don't think about. But like, yeah, he was just a young guy trying to make his bones, and then like it was a good gig.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, it's that those things are fascinating to me. Of like we think of them, these eras, as being entirely like self-contained, but like, oh no, they bleed over from one to another.
Yeah. And then I mean, you know, you transition to the 80s and we end up in this weird era, the early 80s, right? Because we had two, right? And we also sort of transcending the kind of funk of the 70s, Prince and Michael Jackson. You really cannot talk about the 80s and Prince without talking about Michael Jackson. And one of the very cool experiences is going to Paisley Park and being in the studio and being able to play ping pong on the ping pong table where Prince and Michael Jackson used to play ping pong. That's pretty fun, actually. It is a neat
Wow.
kind of walking on hallowed ground. So the MTV, you know, they talk about it as breaking the color barrier when Billie Jean dropped on MTV, right, in 1983.
Mhm.
Little Red Corvette had actually been on heavy rotation slightly earlier than Billie Jean, but those were the very, like, arguably the first videos by Black artists on the channel, and ended up defining again a lot of the aesthetic of music videos by Black pop, hip hop artists. And you know, this is in an era where like synth pop is super dominant. Like we're listening to Duran Duran and Eurythmics and Human League and Erasure, right? And so even while new wave is still fresh, we get this injection of you know, funk pop that I think that carried really, really well, and thus defined the next major era for Prince, which was the Revolution.
I didn't realize
Mhm.
that they were friends.
Friends,
Yeah.
roller coaster,
Played
kind of a
ping pong?
roller coaster
Contemporary?
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
No.
yet they never collaborated. There was always this rumor that there was going to be something that they were going to do together, and it just never
Even standing
happened.
playing ping pong in a studio with hot mics, they never collaborated
Right.
on a track.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow. It's a Shondas. Kyle, what about you? Those were two, you know, of Pete's love.
Yeah, sort of then that's, I guess, then that's sort of where my stuff comes in, because as much as we even put some of them on there are some incredibly dirty. Frankly, I think he would be happy with us saying that, dirty songs. Get Off, you know, and like all the other
Tick,
ones that are
tick,
just
bang.
like, I can't believe someone. Tick Tick Bang.
You
Exactly.
guys, I'm so
All these things are like,
puritanical. I was like,
cannot believe
these are so
I know.
you're allowed
X-rated.
to do
Tambourines.
this.
I mean,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't think I listened to Tambourine.
And so that is what a lot of people who don't really know and stuff, that's kind of how they think of it. And that is a valid thing. You could do a whole playlist of just like Prince sexy time
Mhm.
stuff. That is something he absolutely reveled in, and was happy to celebrate in a way that a lot of times that I think even we're in a more puritanical time now, where people feel like they can't really talk about these things. They have to hide it under all of these metaphor. But the other side of it is like, he was also like a really dedicated artist, and and would push back against all these things. So a lot of the songs that I really resonate with, stuff like Thieves in the Temple,
Mhm.
or like we talk about New Power Generation. Graffiti Bridge was a big thing to me. It was ostensibly a sequel to Purple Rain, directed by Prince. It is not a good movie, but the actual soundtrack itself, when he had left the Revolution, he had basically fired them. They found out, that they had been fired. He didn't even like call and say, hey, we're not doing this anymore. He just put together a new band and started recording stuff. That's how they found out. So once again, we're not here to say that Prince never made any mistakes or hurt anyone, because he absolutely did. But there's this side of it where, in New Power Generation, he says, we are the new power generation. We want to change the world. The only thing that's in our way is you, your old fashioned music, your old ideas. We're sick and tired of you telling us what to do. So there's this real piece of like, he is also an angry man who is tired of being treated badly. And so there's a whole
Was that at the
other
label?
thing you can
Like,
go
was
through.
this was
Well,
before?
and at the world as a black man coming up in the 90s America, even with all of his success and stuff too, he still had to face the same thing, the same systematic racism and stuff that we're still dealing with today. Just because you're rich and famous, it doesn't make you immune. So I think he still had that social part of where he like wanted to say more than just I like having sex with women. He also had this other thing going around, and also in an era that was defined by masculinity. I mean, him coming up in the era of Rambo and things, when everything was aggro and thing. This guy comes on stage wearing lace and purple and jewelry and makeup, and yet was unapologetic to talk about like how much he liked getting down with the ladies. It was something we had never seen before. And like Little Richard was like, oh man, I wish I could have done that. But he couldn't. He absolutely couldn't.
Of course
like,
not.
In his era, he went as far as he could, and Prince went as far as he could.
There is 1984 is widely acknowledged as the biggest year in pop history of the era, and you had Madonna release Like a Virgin, right? Yeah. Which is all sort of hyper femme, and you have Springsteen release Born in the USA, which is the other direction, and Prince is dancing right in the middle of these two with Purple Rain and does coming out of the Twin Cities,
right. Coming out of Middle America, the flyover.
Right. And I just find it fascinating, this sort of cultural relevance and the fact that Prince was defining what it meant to be gender presentation fluid at a minimum in an era when we had no language to talk about it. That fluidity was Prince. That was Prince. Everything.
One observation I had about him throughout the playlist, and then I was remembering other songs, he often did not sing lead vocals, or he had many other vocalists on tracks. And I was wondering if you guys knew why that was. That's a strange thing for, a solo artist. Yes, he had bands, but he would hand over major parts of the song to other people vocally.
I think that underscores what is often misunderstood about Prince, is that when Prince was working, Prince was a collaborator, right? Was first and foremost a collaborator. I mean, when you watch something like Sign of the Times, arguably one of the best concert movies ever made, especially for Prince fans, that opening jam is dedicated really to Sheila E.'s drum solo, right? That it's just extraordinary, and that is performance generosity to not make it completely about himself. I don't know, Kyle.
Yeah, he loved musicians and he loved music, and he was like, in the same way that he would give these songs to other performers and produce their albums and stuff too, he loved to jam. So he loved it wasn't just the fact that I'm going to go in the studio by myself. Like, he did that first album alone and never did that again. Like, he basically always wanted to be surrounded by people who were the best of their trade. Like, he would put together multiple bands and multiple incarnations of multiple different styles of things, depending on sort of where his musical mood was taking him. So yeah, I think he was happy to be like, yeah, bass solo, go for it. Like, I'll just stand here while you do the thing that you're good at.
It's another form of arrogance that comes out in the sort of post Paisley Park era too, because that aesthetic of always wanting to be surrounded by people and ready to go is exactly what made people crazy, because they had to be ready to go too, right?
Yes.
They were always there. And when Prince was watching
Yes.
a basketball game, he might just say, because he loved basketball, he might just say, "Hey, now I want to go write a song," and everybody had to jump to it, right? That was just we're in the studio, and that ended up wearing thin on a lot of important relationships. Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch any of the stuff, Charlie Murphy's stories on the Dave Chappelle show, talking about his time hanging out with Prince, like, you know, he's always, and they're presented comedically, but I believe 100% all those things actually happened.
Yeah.
And the same way that Kevin Smith tells a long story about his time collaborating with Prince, ultimately fruitless, like all the stuff that he was supposed to shoot a documentary, all that footage was taken away and has never been released. But he tells some pretty wild stories about it too, and I believe all of those as well. Like, I think he was like a complicated person, and so he got to that point when he could record at any point, whatever the mood would strike him. And so at 2 a.m. suddenly people's phones would be ringing. He's ready, and they had to like come down in the middle of winter to Paisley Park to start recording.
That's the cult of Prince. I mean, that goes beyond, oh, I play in a band for this guy. That's, people were
and he called everyone. They were in the family, right? And he made it super clear when you were in the family. Again, in Paisley Park, his favorite studio. You walk into the studio, and it's as it is. It's plastered with pictures, with wall side, like the walls are wallpapered in giant pictures of Third Eye Girl, which was the iteration of the band when Prince died, and a giant picture of Prince. It's like 25 feet tall that stands over the instruments.
That's like 5
It's so many Princes, like on top in a giant trench coat. But Prince, that studio, Prince would redecorate it with pictures of whoever was in the family at the time, right? So
interesting.
It changed over time, and found it apparently inspirational to dedicate the recording space to whoever he's bringing in at 2:30 in the morning to make the music. He also, this drives me crazy, he also had candles everywhere, which is great, but his candles are on all the electrical equipment and the mixing boards and the computers.
Oh boy.
I do want to say, as a sidebar, one of the things that I did not know about Prince was his technical prowess, not just as a musician, but the dude knew computers, right? He knew the ins and outs of his editing software, both audio and video, and he spent a lot of time editing his own concerts, his own performances, cutting together tracks, and mixing his own sound. He knew all of it, and when he died, the Paisley Park was set up with, Mac Pros in every room. Like, there are little corners. If at any moment he could sit down and start editing, he was always within like 15 feet of an editing booth. And apparently he would do that in the middle of the night. He would light only by candles, sit in complete dark, and edit. And he was a very savvy technician.
Well, unlike Prince, I am not technical, and I don't make this podcast by myself. Make Me a Nerd is a production of True Story FM, engineering by the peerless Pete Wright, who I get to look at and say that about. My theme song is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boy. I'm on social media on Instagram at Mandy_Kaplan_Clavens, both with K's, and I'm on TikTok at Mandy Miscast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review and let me know what you think. Let me know if you have a suggestion for something you want me to try, and I will do it. Let me know if you want to come on and nerducate me. I will invite you. And lastly, if you're feeling supportive and you want to go on to makemeanerd.com/join, hitting that button will get you your episodes ad-free and early, and my eternal gratitude. More to come after this.
Sky was all purple, there were people running everywhere.
Is there a sense, as I was listening to some of this music, as we got later, My Name is Prince, some of the later stuff, was he setting trends or chasing trends later in his career? And is that a blasphemous thing to say?
I think he was absolutely going his own direction, and he didn't really care what other people were doing or if they were following him or not. But I don't think he was
I
really
agree with
following
that.
anybody.
I think
Yeah.
he's almost trend proof. He because he was such a low-key isolationist, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think he was influenced by much because there wasn't much that touched him. I think he was seriously making right out of his head.
Bouncing off of our conversation about My Name is Prince and how that was the music of the time, and it was him saying, I can do this music too. I didn't know if he was being influenced to go in a certain direction musically or it, but I didn't hear his latest stuff.
Yeah, I think after the battle with Warner Brothers, he kind of was like, I don't want to be a part of pop music anymore. Like, I don't want to I don't want to sign another contract. I don't want to everything. I
want
don't
to
need
own
to
my
deal with these
masters.
people at all. I'm gonna do it all myself. Yeah, exactly. Which a lot of artists never get the chance to do. I mean, look how Taylor Swift has had to fight. Look how Kesha has had to fight. I mean, these are the same battles that Prince was doing.
Had Taylor Swift and Kesha looked at Prince, they would have never had to sign those deals, right? Prince fought it first.
Yes, right.
So you said masters, and I understand what masters are, but a lot of your lists were remasters. And I'm a musical person, but I don't hear a big difference. Can you discuss why a remaster is such how different it is and why you put those on the list rather than the original versions?
It's what's available. I mean, I mean, honestly, a lot of these things were recorded, came off of audio cassette or, or the early generation of CDs, which were not fantastic. And so them going back in and basically trying to make it closer to how it sounded in the studio, as opposed to the compression and everything that had to go through until they went there, without getting super technical about stuff too. But these remasters are not new
They're just
versions.
clean.
They're closer to getting to what it was supposed to be like.
Gotcha.
How it was supposed to
I
sound.
saw that word so much and I thought, I don't know what.
I would say on our part, there was no intention about, thinking through what's a master versus a remaster. It just is. It's functionally, it's cleaner. They've done some work to clean it up.
Yeah. And then he is famous for extended mixes and stuff too. We didn't put a lot of that on there. I mean, there's Scandalous the song, and then there's the Scandalous suite, which is a whole other thing. So we tried to keep it more towards song, just like the 3 or 4 minute songs,
which I appreciate. I'm not such a jam person, but
exactly.
But that's my sensibility. That God love you if you are. So as we are nearing the end of our time, which sounds crazy, feels wrong. What is it, if I forced you to say, what is it you love about Prince? And is he your favorite artist or one of many? Or talk about your love. And gaze at each other while you do that, please.
Well, I can say we put our love of Prince into practice because last year Pete and I took a road trip, both converging from our separate locations, to meet in the Twin Cities to see the world premiere of the Purple Rain musical. We got to their opening weekend. We got to be there and see the extravagance that it was, and see people trying to emulate that, not only that movie, but that era. That would be a whole separate podcast talking about that show in particular. And it was, we saw it essentially was out of town preview, so they have some work to do. But seeing those,
it was the second public performance that they had ever done.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, but seeing essentially people taking that and recreating it, and I never got to see Prince live, so this is as close as I got, is seeing officially this is with the approval of the estate, they're behind us, let it go, and the lead actor was very good at sounding like Prince and doing the moves and stuff too, and the band sounded like it too, so it was the closest experience I had to seeing him live. So we put our fandom into practice. We went all the way to the Twin Cities just to see it, and visited Paisley Park while we were there. And it really gave me a new appreciation of, there's sort of the myth, but then seeing the place where he is and seeing going into part of it. We didn't do the full tour, but Pete has done that. But I didn't on that trip. But going in, seeing pieces of that were on the album covers or famous pictures stuff too there. Like there was like, oh, that is actually the thing from the end. There's very nice tour guides and stuff too, who were happy to show us around those. So being in the place where all of this stuff was made was really kind of like, like you're saying, close to like a religious experience of like, oh, this is and for me is that creativity, like, basically being in a place where someone was allowed to be as creative as they wanted to be, to do the work that they're sent here to do, was pretty incredible. So yeah, that's the sort of where it comes down to, is that he was an iconoclast. He was a creative person, and he got to do the thing that he was great at doing. And how many of us get to do that? Not many.
He died on April 21st, 2016. So 10 years. And it's one of those celebrities that I feel like I was impacted by, right? You spend so much of your time consuming their creative output. I think that creates a different kind of bond than than just being I don't know what a fan. It's a different kind of fandom when you spend your sort of adult life and your childhood life consuming their creative output.
Right.
And I will tell you, going into he died. You walk into Paisley Park, which was his live-in studio. His living quarters were upstairs. His recording studios and things were downstairs. You walk into Paisley Park, there's a little entry area, and you walk down this hall. And right when you get to the end of the hall, there's an elevator that was where Prince could come up and down. And you're standing, like, I've seen the police footage that was released online of Prince's death when the Minneapolis police found him. And I was standing there at the foot of where he died, and I felt like I'd been just kicked in the chest over and over and over again. It was a really emotional experience, like being there and standing in that atrium. He loved this atrium that's right next to this elevator, big open kind of pyramid right at the top. And reportedly, though I didn't see it, reportedly he had a miniature model made of Paisley Park that was the urn where his ashes reside, that was sitting up inside the glass atrium, and it was all lit with purple light, so you could see it across Chanhassen, the subdivision where the studio is located. That was I think that's just cemented my experience with Prince. Yeah, he's my favorite artist, absolutely. When I need to, it doesn't really matter the mood. There's something that I can put on from the Prince catalog that that will suit it. My favorite album was the Sign of the Times album, and it was it's just consistently an extraordinary listen every time I listen. And it's one of the albums that I don't ever jump around in. I start at the beginning, I listen to the end. And I think Prince put a lot of attention to, how albums are meant to be consumed. And I still have it in my head and my heart to respect that.
And gun to your head, Kyle, favorite songs, favorite album?
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, Sign of the Times is actually is really hard to beat, because it's just banger after banger after banger. I mean, like there's we let's get to that mix.
Hard not to put all of Sign of the Times.
a work of joy. Yeah, exactly. But hard not to. I mean, like it's just from top to bottom. I've listened. Yeah, the same thing. I had it on cassette and wore out my first set. And I was happy when the CDs came that I could get that, because I had already worn down listening to that entire thing, and so different genres and styles and feelings that goes through it. So it's not just like, nonstop sex song, not a social justice song, whatever it is. It's the wide variety that, and I think it's a right mid of his career too. So you kind of get a little bit of where he was and where he was going.
Yeah. Well, I have a favorite Prince song, but before I reveal it, I know this is so exciting. Can you guys, as we wrap up, tell everybody where they can hear you and find you? And
Kyle, Kyle.
Tell the
I'll say
people.
Pete and I are proud to announce our new podcast, Pod Unto the Light Fantastic. We're going to be listening to every
That's a lot. 1 minute at a
That's
time.
absolutely not true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kyle
exactly.
actually
exactly.
needs a lot of help telling people where he can be found, so he should definitely go first.
That is true. If you like the two of us together, you can hear us on not only Craft and Chaos, which is our podcast about how you stay creative during these difficult times, but also on the Marvel Movie Minute, where we're talking about different Marvel movies in 5-minute segments. So they are if you like the sound of our voices, and I don't know why you wouldn't, you can find us over there, all part of the True Story FM family.
Kyle can also be found at the New Play Exchange. He's a phenomenal playwright, and he just forgets to put his name on stuff sometimes. It's a long story. You should listen to Craft and Chaos. You'll find out about it. So if you happen to be in a position to produce plays,
it's a saga.
Get one of Kyle's. And I just released my first novella, my first work of fiction. It's called Lattice, and you can find it on my website at itsmepete.com. Thank you, Kyle, or at Amazon or at Barnes and Noble.
I have it. Well, I'm in my studio, but I have it in the house
so
in the
sweet.
kitchen.
That's so nice. Yeah, you
I
win
win
too.
too.
Everybody wins. So
yes, everybody get the novella. And if you're listening and you're like, I love these guys. You guys have been on my podcast together. We did Buffy.
Is that the only time?
Have we also done
that we've done it together?
Is that the only time?
This is the only time the three of us have been together now.
All right.
Another
So,
problematic
go back and listen
creator.
to-
That's going to be our stock in trade. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pete, I'm every episode I'm having disclaimers. This is like I'm feeling this
honestly.
acutely these days.
Yeah.
You just God, people suck. Okay, so my favorite Prince song, I think by far, is Nothing Compares to You.
Yeah.
I don't think I can listen to that
in
song
7 hours and 15 days
without feeling the heartbreak. It just gets in there in ways, there are lots of great songs about heartbreak, but that is, it guts me. I love Sinead O'Connor's version, but I also love Prince's version. And I think it's exquisite songwriting.
One of the great gifts, and I know we're wrapping up, but one of the great gifts of Prince's career is just how prolific he was. And he has the room is still there. There's a vault, literally a vault underneath Paisley Park that was full of over 8,000 unreleased tracks, and it included video, audio, cassette, DAT, like any format you can imagine. It was there. That entire vault has been moved to Los Angeles, and it is still being meticulously scanned and remastered and put together in new collections and finding new things to release. And they're reportedly, as of now, about halfway through it, right? It's been 10 years. There will be material coming from the Prince estate for decades to come. And that's a huge joy. One of them is the piano and a microphone, re-release or release that was just, stuff that he put together from the concert that he was working on at the time of his death. And I think it, A Case of You is on there. At Paisley Park, they have a piano version of Little Red Corvette that is extraordinary. Any of that stuff that's coming out, the more intimate Prince alone with an instrument is I think just extraordinary stuff, and it's worth looking at.
And once you've listened to every episode of Make Me a Nerd, then there's also an official Prince podcast put out by the Prince estate, where they go back and tell the entire story of each album and how it was put together. And they talk to the original artists and people who worked directly with him. It's pretty extraordinary, and they're trying to tell as complete a story as they can. It's very and they're allowed to use the music.
All the music you don't hear today on this show.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That we
well,
can't.
Thank you guys so very much for sharing something so meaningful, and I really appreciate it. It was eye-opening and ear-opening.
Thanks for indulging us.
It's fun to have a base knowledge for me to say, I know Prince. I'm very familiar, but to really expand my horizons. Good. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Until next time.